Well, welcome in, guys. I'm joined right now by Seraphinexd, the rank 1 Resto Druid for Mythic Plus at the moment, longtime Resto Druid player, and with Torty of the Dreamgrove class Discord, the Master Theory Crafter. So, today I want to talk about really what's been going on with Resto Druid for Midnight Alpha so far, initial early impressions and everything like that. So, let's start off with what Resto Druid has lost. Big list. Cenarian Ward, Budding Leaves, Dream State, Flash of Clarity, Grove Tending, Invigorate, Overgrowth, Spring Blossoms, Twin Leaf, Undergrowth, and Forest Flow. But also, a lot of talents have been like revamped and redesigned to like no longer be hots. Like I remember seeing, Cultivation on this list, and it's like no longer a hot. So let's start it off with you, Greg. What do you think about so far the changes and removal of a lot of talents for Midnight?
I definitely think some of the talents that got removed are pretty good. Like Cenarian Ward has really just kind of it's been like a niche talent for Mythic Plus. I mean, probably not even playing it in Raid, to be honest, ever. I can't even remember the last time talenting it in Raid, but as M Plus, it's been honestly severely weak for such a long time. I think some druids are playing it right now, but a lot of it is kind of buffed by the hero tree, like making the healing seem like a lot stronger than what it actually is. But in reality, I don't know, it's just been kind of like a bad button for a while. It feels awkward to press it, not really seem like much of a reward around the gameplay with it. Spring Blossoms though is the one talent that I'm kind of shocked, and I think a lot of druids are probably a little like curious about why that's been removed. I know it doesn't really heal for a whole lot, but I mean the main effect of it is like, it's another hot to your mastery. It procs verdancy whenever you have your life blooms out, but double life bloom has also been removed now, so that gameplay is like kind of gone too. So I don't know how I really feel about all of those things kind of like interacting and changing. I mean, double life bloom is definitely almost like it's been like a staple for Druid for such a long time, but it's at the same point it's like very annoying to play two life blooms. Like I can see the logic getting rid of it because this is all like a lot of maintenance with playing around those two abilities for keystones, so it can be kind of stressful. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see where Blizzard goes with it. But I am well, the one talent I'm super happy about going is Invigorate and Overgrowth. Like those two abilities, like I don't even know who's talenting them, to be honest. I would like to see Embrace the Dream, like a talent near the bottom, also go. I feel like those three talents, like nobody's talenting those like at all in any content and like involving Druid. So it's good to see that two of them got taken out. Hopefully maybe Embrace the Dream gets massively buffed or something, or reworked or removed. But that'd be another talent that could easily go away.
So you don't think that they've gone like over the top with a lot of the pruning that they've done? You think it's going to be like so far good? Have to see how it plays out.
I mean, it seems like they're lessening a lot of the things around Druid. Like, Druid itself has kind of got a lot of button bloat if you think about it, from keys, even in Raid, like a lot of button bloat around it to where it's like kind of overwhelming. Like a lot of like decisions go into how like you do your ramp for healing, how you do damage, like all of it's like button bloat in my opinion, and it seems like this is getting reduced with like wild growth getting massively buffed, regrowth getting buffed. One thing that I didn't see is rejuve really being kind of talked about, which is kind of shocking too, because it seems like everything around Druid, like Efflow, Life Blooms being changed a little bit, regrowth, wild growth, like all this stuff is kind of getting some buffs in my opinion, but nothing around rejuve, which is interesting. So we'll see how that kind of plays out.
Makes sense. What
But
do you think about this so far, Torty?
Well, I think the direction they're taking is basically removing all the small buffs and small hots, all the small stuff that just adds complexity. Maybe they're doing it for computation. I have obviously no idea. They're changing all the add-ons, right? So I was kind of expecting some of the hots to get removed. So that's where I assume Growth Tend and Snare and Spring Blossoms
Mm-hmm.
removals are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
They also removed some of the buffs from hero talent trees and they reworked them a bit. Like, for
Yeah.
example, there was a when you Swiftmend, you gain haste as a keeper right now, and it's just reworked to increase Swiftmend healing now. There is in Wild Shaka, when you regrowth, you gain crit chance on your HOTS. Now it's just flat crit. Yeah, this is the strategic infusion. I think that's like they just want less stuff for people to worry about when you and I think more clarity when you spec into something. You know the impact of it at glance. Like you don't need to like wait for Volk to do math for you to understand how much stuff is doing.
Yeah.
Like if you get 20% Swiftment, right? Like any person understands how much that is. You just look at your log and that 20% to Swiftment. Like I think that's honestly that's a good change. I like those ones. Some of the removals you haven't mentioned the biggest one actually. I think there was like a shit ton of drama about it. It's Skull Bash for Resto.
Right.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that at the start. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very hot topic in every Resto discussion right now.
Yeah, so Greg,
Yeah.
you were saying you didn't really mind too much not having a kick anymore. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is like a hot take or not, but in my opinion, I think Druid's kick is just the most annoying thing to play around. Like, I mean, as a Druid, you can like the luxury of the class is that you can go in range, you can go in melee, you can do whatever play style you want. You're not like forced to be in one spot or the other. But like where kicking as a Druid is kind of annoying is like if you're in range and you're, maybe it's comfort wise, like you don't want to be in melee. There's a lot of frontals you're dodging, stuff like that. And then you're, somebody in your group saying like, hey, you got a kick, like your kick's up, and then you lunge your character into a swirl that's on the ground or a frontal and you get penalized for it, all for simply like just kicking when the group kind of needs you to. I don't know, like in my opinion, I think the kick has done a lot of bad things for Druid players itself. Like it just creates like another piece of pressure, almost like a pressure aspect of the class. Like you having to like worry about your kick because you're like a melee kick, right? Like you have a short kick, but I don't know. A lot of the times I think it can just add too much like spice into the gameplay when in reality I don't know. I think healers should maybe just not have kicks in general now. If they're going to remove Druid's kick, Priest doesn't have kick, like maybe they should just start removing kick from all healers so they don't have to focus more on about kicking things in dungeons or even in raid. They can just focus on the mechanics of what's in front of them and healing their group, doing damage wherever they see fit, and that's all they really need to worry about, right? Like they don't need to be there
I'm with
to
you
kick things.
100%. With you 100%. What do you think about it, Torty?
I only do weeklies really, so I don't have a strong stance on that. The way I used kick and raids is like if you're not in melee, and it's an off GCD way to get into melee, and then you can start regening mana. So that's my use case
Yeah, that's a fair
for
point.
Skull Bash. But
So you talked a little bit about some of the changes going on for the hero talent. So talk to me about what Druid has gained so far, and do you think it's positive, negative, working in the right direction? Let's start with you, Torty.
what Druid gained, I think, well, they moved Flourish to Tranquility now, right? So
Yeah.
it's no longer a standalone spell. What it is right now, it's 1 minute hot extension and hot speed increase, but they're moving it to Tranquility. It's going to be in place of Dream State, our current Trank improving CDR talent. So it will extend your HOTS by 14 seconds, I believe, if you do full Trank channel. So right now Trank is doing 5 ticks. It's doing on life. On alpha it is doing 7 in like slightly long duration. They removed the hot component completely and increased the heal itself. And obviously with Flourish you gain like hot extension. But another part of it is you no longer have a hot speed increase from Flourish. Like Flourish is not a buff you can track anymore because obviously it's not a buff. I mean, this is a bit weird to me because their stated goal is to like reduce CD reliance for healers, right? Like they
Right.
want less CDs overall. So on surface, this looks like you have less CDs, right? Like they move Flourish to Trank. But what it does, it actually makes Trank a lot stronger. Because right now, Trank is kind of whatever in rate. Like, on some bosses, I usually slot it when there is barely any damage, just to get CDR. And with this change, it actually becomes a quite strong CD. And in my opinion, I think it actually increases the peak healing with Trank. Is going to be higher than what we have right now with Convoke Flourish. So that's a bit weird. And I've seen similar changes for other healers, like the Revival change, for example. There is a 15% healing on Revival. I mean, Revival is obviously also dogshit heal. And I mean, I just some changes I don't understand. I think if they were serious about reining in healing cities, they should have made changes like more aggressive. I think Evangelism is still a 1.5 minute CD, so like I have like they said that they're reducing the CDs, but I'm yet to see like large evidence of that happening. They reduced some of them and mostly minor ones, like Disc Priests are losing Apis or Barrier, right? Like you can't have both anymore. And like Resto Druid 1 minute CD timings are in theory lower, like in power. But that's only in theory too, because right now on alpha Convoke is actually kind of wild because of all the like combined changes.
Yeah, I think Druid's kind of an odd spot because a lot of other specs, like like you're talking about with Disc, having to choose between Barrier or Uppies, you have to choose between like Holy Prism or Divine Toll. You have to choose between
Sure.
Ascendance or Healing Tide. But Druid's kind of unique in that it still has a lot of these cooldowns. So,
Yeah.
do you
I
think
mean,
that it's going to make
another
all your
thing, like
cooldowns really strong?
they said in another post that they want to have like less complexity for the specs, right? And then they changed some of our talents. Like for example, power of the Arc Druid is now 100%, and it procs off Soul of the Forest. So Soul of the Forest now only works on Rejuve and Regrowth, one lane up higher than power of the Arc Druid.
Yeah.
And so like when you Swiftmant, your next Rejuve spreads to 2 more targets, so it's like 3 Rejuves, right? With these 2 talents in a combo. Like that's on paper looking like an easier way to track stuff, right? Like you know that when you Swiftmant, you always get like 3 Rejuves or 3 Regrowths. But then they also attached Growth Guardians to Swiftmant and Wild Growth.
Yeah.
Now imagine you are a Keeper of the Grove, right? And you spawn Trance on Swiftmant and Wild Growth casts. And Keeper of the Growth gains healing for each trend you have up. And then now you're casting Convoke. And your Convoke can both generate Soul of the Forest, consume Soul of the Forest, cast Swiftments, and cast Wild Growths. So your Convoke now is actually a lot stronger, like by a large margin. I was watching JB and like we were talking in chat and testing, right? And he obviously it was done near dummies, which is not very representative, but he cast Convoke and he straight up spawned 5 trance in Convoke.
Oh my god.
And the special spell from Convoke now is Trank, because you can't cast Flourish anymore. So it casts like a half Trank, and that Trank also uses Flourish, so it extends the HOTS. So in Convoke, you can gain so much power. It's like crazy. If you like, you can't even low roll it because, like, if you cast Swiftmant, it's always good. If you cast Wild Growth, it's always good because obviously it spawns a trend. Rejuves, like you will never say no to Rejuves. If it casts Regrowths, like they're also massively buffed now. Like every healing spell is good from it. I can't even imagine a situation where you have a bad Convoke. And with like we're all gaining 4 talents, right? So you can get Reforestation now as well. So every minute you can have a Reforestation Convoke on top of this.
And that's going to be your Tree of Life spawning, right?
Yeah, Tree of Life proc. Yeah.
And so you're going to run Reforestation and then also be able to have access to Convoke, so you can just periodically like pop up into tree form.
Yes. Well, you Swiftmant. That Swiftmant brings you to Reforestation, and then you Rejuve Convoke, right? And that's kind of powerful, I think, and makes your cooldown window in that 1 minute. I don't think it's much weaker than what Convoke Flourish is right now. And in some situations, I would argue might be stronger. Because there are also regrowth changes. There are like massive talent changes for regrowth.
Yeah, so talk to me about that. A lot of, the War Within and my time talking to you and to Greg, there's been a lot of talk about how weak and mediocre a lot of your healing over time effects are. They've done a lot of pruning across the board to get rid of these like micro hots out of spring blossoms, cultivation, and whatnot. Does it actually seem like all your hots are going to be doing real healing as a result of the pruning?
I mean, it's hard to tell, right, without seeing actual numbers. Like
Mhm.
the things they're telling like regrowth buffed by 40%. I mean, that says nothing, right? We don't know the what spell power coefficient they land in the end. But they added a talent that your regrowth critical heals are 300% instead of 200%. That's obviously a massive buff to Druid because our goal is to get to 12 rejuves and then you have 100% crit chance on regrowth. So that effectively just makes your regrowth spam and burst a lot stronger. And then there is another talent, Nature's Bounty, the new one in the last year. Regrowth heals all other allies with regrowth for 30% of its healing. So that's like a Vivify Cleave, basically.
I'm excited for this talent.
Yeah, this one.
Ooh.
This one looks very fun to play
So
with.
combine all of those changes, and well, the only downside of that is they reduced regrowth hot duration, right? So that window is smaller, where like you have a lot of regrowth hots. But you can still go to 12 rejuves, actually easier than you can right now because you have guaranteed power of the Archdruid, and your Convoke can generate more rejuves as well, theoretically. Like the burst window might actually be stronger on 1 minute timers. And I think the 3 minute timer is also stronger, which I find weird, to be honest. And I've seen that in other specs as well. I don't think the developer understands all the interactions.
So, do I have it right that you're saying that there's so much power that's getting put into your cooldowns? You think there might be like some nerfs or something that they're going to do to kind of cut back and make it feel less good later on down the line?
If they want to remain true to what they're claiming with healing cities, then I'm sure like some of that is getting nerfed, especially like nature's bounty and that regrowth talent that increases crit healing on regrowth. I think those are more of high skill ceiling talents, right? Like if you do your ramp right, you will do a lot of healing. But if you screw it up, then like you're basically a gray person. Like the gap between 99th percentile druid and like 30th percentile druid is larger with these changes, in my opinion.
How do you think it's going to affect M Plus with all the regrowth talents that they have coming in, Greg?
I kind of like this Nature's Bounty talent. I think a lot of our healing, as we see like playing Druid on retail currently, comes from regrowth, but I mean, I feel like it's like kind of like a caveat though. Like I feel like over the last 2 seasons of playing Druid and M plus, like you're really just like a regrowth simulator, right? And that's what you're kind of going to be in the future, like with some of these talents and how they read. That's why I mentioned earlier, like nothing really is mentioned about Rejuve. Like in my opinion, like Rejuve is kind of the ability that got me playing Druid from like the start. Like Rejuve and Wild Growth, like those are like, in my opinion, your bread and butter, and you regrowth and Swift Mend for like emergency situations. But like having to play Druid now and spam like regrowth so much and seeing that be like kind of like a continuation into the new expansion is a little worrying because I've personally kind of wanted to go away from that because I mean you're not essentially like a hot healer at that point, right? Like if you're just spamming regrowth to like I mean because it's the only ability that does meaningful amounts of like HPS on retail plus like the obviously the tier sets and the hero talent working together really well is doing a large portion of your healing, but we don't even know what's coming with like Wildstalker from some of the talents. I mean, I only see under construction, so I'm not sure what the three are going to be picked there.
I mean,
But
judging
yeah,
from the keeper talents, they're not going to be massive. They're just some small bonuses, right?
yeah. One thing though with like the Druid tree itself is like I think there's a lot of like good talents near the bottom now, and I feel like that's a little bit like kind of like polar opposite of what you have on retail. Like in retail, every druid's like slotting the same talents like repeatedly for raid and for dungeons. But now, like with the talents at the bottom of the tree, like being mixed around, it's kind of like, in my opinion, it's a little confusing on where you would go. I mean, I'd have to like test a bunch of stuff out and see. But just like, for example, like Nature's Bounty being down here, good talent, Harmonious Blooming, which was in the middle, is now at the bottom. Wildwood Roots, Abundance, and both of those being down here, which was up top. That's a little interesting to see, and I'm not sure how some stuff is going to play out with that. Ysira's Gift, Waking Dream is also at the bottom, which used to be at the
Yeah,
top end
those
of
are
your talent
never picked
tree.
though. Like they just replaced the Waking Dream ones with us.
Yeah, those will
You're looking at
probably not be picked at all, like going into the future, but um, it is it is interesting to see some stuff like has been shifted around. So
also. I'm gonna add another thing on criticizing Blizzard on this. Like they stated that they removed the defensives, right? Like, and we lost renewal.
Right.
But then while you're here on the class tree,
Mm-hmm.
on the talents, there is a talent on the right called Forest Walk. Right now it's a one talent, and it gives like 1 pointer. It gives 8% movement speed and healing increase taken, right? And on alpha it's 2 talents, and it goes to 16%, and it gives you this buff for 6 seconds every time you regrowth, and you regrowth every time there is any damage. So there is any damage, you have 16% movement speed extra and 16% healing taken. And we already have 15% passive from the another talent in this tree. So this is actually a very big defensive increase in that part. And then there is also Heart of the Wild change. On live, it's a 6-minute CD with 45-second duration. But on alpha, they changed it completely. It's now a 2-minute CD, and it's like all the abilities are one uses. Like in cat form, you just like press a damage spell on target. On moonkin form, you cast Starfall. And in bear form, you press it and you gain 30% health for 20 seconds. And it works like when you shift out of bear form as well. So that's a last stand, admittedly for 2 GCDs, right? But it's like for 20 seconds. You can use it like way before damage event and still like heal during the damage event. I'm confused what their thinking is, because in my mind, in season 1 of Midnight, I'm gonna be tankier than I am now on live.
Yeah, and then people were thinking, oh man, we like lost renewal, but then you gain a 30% health gain that follows you as you get out of bear form and lasts for 20
Yeah.
seconds. So it's like, is that a good trade? Yeah, it's pretty damn good.
I think seeing these Heart of the Wild changes too is gonna entice maybe Druids to play this Call the Elder, like Dream of Cenarius talent combo that has been kind of newly introduced and I feel has been like almost ignored. Like a lot of people on are picking Call the Elder Druid currently on live because like your talents just like for these keys, like your talents at the bottom, I always say this, don't really matter that much. Like you're just picking the same talents that you normally pick and there's really no other good options.
You know,
Um
this health increase in bear form also stacks with Heart of the Wild.
Oh,
yeah.
really? But do you have to stay
Yeah.
in bear form during the Call of Elder
Yeah,
Druid?
for Call of the Elder Druid, yes, it's a separate buff.
Okay. But still, you
Yeah,
could just
So
talent into this in raids, and
yes,
then
I
you just
mean,
shift into bear
you
form.
can theoretically go into bear form with so much health, it will basically be an immunity. Like
Yeah.
20% from this, 30% from Heart of the Wild, 15% I think from Ursine Vigor, like bear form itself. For
Mm-hmm.
the like 4 seconds you are in bear form, you will have like double health basically.
Yeah, it seems to be
yeah.
going away from, some classes like Shaman lost Stone Bulwark Totem, and I don't think they really gained anything as well from it. So the usual, like, squishy class of Druid now has their last stand, they have the Call of the Elder Druid, they have constant passive healing, increased healing received, and you're just going to be going way tankier into the expansion. That's strange. But I mean, I guess you
Yeah.
guys aren't complaining so far, so.
I can complain about Apex Talents. I think
Yeah,
Apex Talents are,
yeah, let's
yeah,
go over to
let's
the
segue to
Apex
that.
talents.
I mean, it's just a Livebloom talent. It's a single target talent. And I think the problems are immediately obvious. It does a lot of healing on single target. And that's always going to be better in smaller group content than in raids. And the way it's structured, you will never want to have one. Like the first part is extremely bad, I think. So you will either play 4 or you will play 0.
Right, so it's
That's
going to cost
my
a full 4 points, and you're not forced to even put your points into the Apex talents if you theoretically didn't want to. But if you
Oh,
wanted all of
really?
them,
I didn't even know that.
yeah,
That's actually
they said you could technically move it elsewhere if you didn't want to. But
yeah.
you're saying, Torty, you have to go all in if you want this value?
Yeah, I think so. I believe so. And I believe like with what it is right now and how the raid healing looks, I think the raid build will have 0 talents and epic talents.
Really? Why do you think
yeah.
so? Just because it's single target focused?
I want to add 4 talents into more rejuve and regrowth.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how much this. I mean, in raid, like it's gonna strong. Like this Everbloom talent is gonna depend a lot on if it's picked for raid or not, because like the Life Bloom splashing is really going to
I mean
determine if
the
it's healing for a lot or not.
like when you Swiftmet and consumes all of the fort, those 8 blooms, they do an obnoxious amount of single target healing. Like if we had Kalthas right now from Castle Nathria, Resto
Oh
Druid would
yeah.
have been even stronger than it was back then for that. I just don't know. And also, I mean, there is PvP, right? Although barely
Eh.
nobody plays it, right? But I think this Epic's talent will gain a swift 90% reduction in PvP, like they usually do.
Yeah. So what do you think with all of the gains and all the losses for Druid going into next season? Talk to me, Torty, first about what was Druid strong with in the War Within, and what are they strong theoretically, on paper, going into Midnight?
I think the playstyle will be largely similar to what it was in from like middle of first season in War Within to like the end of the second season. It will be about the same. You will play Keeper of the Grove, heavy into like ramping with rejuves and then spamming regrowths. With current tuning, you will 100% play Convoke. There is no way you're playing Tree. And I think you are more flexible with your cold. Like it will be easier to plan cooldowns because right now with Dream State it's actually very hard to plan your cities for bosses, especially if there are like no other logs available for you to check. Dream State is the 20-second cooldown reduction on Tranquility.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
So
right.
kind of glad that talent is gone, in my opinion. I think it makes raid like planning raid CDs kind of annoying, in my opinion,
yeah,
especially for the
it
druid,
makes
because if the person that's planning your CDs doesn't know or really plan around it, it can definitely hurt your healing, in my opinion, like a
yeah
lot. Like you
by a
can
lot.
do a lot playing around, like convoking early and then, pressing trank a little bit after and then convoking again for like the next mechanic. Like you can do a ton of like big burst healing in such a small time span if it's played around, but if it's not, then it hurts you a lot too. So now that it's gone, it's kind of a good thing. It's one less thing to really worry
And I
about if
think
you
that
slot a
it
druid.
also goes more into their like more static talents, right? Like they changed the revival CD reduction to be static. Like I saw Apotheosis changes where it increases duration by a static amount. I think
Mhm.
they just go in that direction everywhere. So you can like look at the talent and you don't have to do some math in your head like how much does this actually increase things by. It's kind of like more transparent. That part I actually like. So far, I think Druid has not changed much. If you played the War Within as a Resto Druid in Raid, you will know what to do in Midnight with like, minimal changes.
Do you think the same thing applies to M Plus as well, Greg? For like gameplay being similar to what you've expected in the War Within?
Um, I think so. I mean, Wildstalker is pretty simple to like get a grasp around. Like it's not really too complex. A lot of the stuff is, based around you heal, you get like your passive healing you do with regrowth, wild growth, F-Flow giving you blooms. Like now that blooms also symbiotic blooms aren't something that you really need to even track or worry about on the raid frames. I mean, I kind of wasn't even looking for those to begin with. Like playing retail, it's not something that I like really base my gameplay on. If I have like 4 or 5 blooms on somebody, like I'm not gonna like make a micro decision based on that or not. So I think a lot of the stuff will probably remain the same. Like I think these Apex talents could actually be somewhat good for Mythic Plus, like putting Life Bloom on somebody, and then also another thing that we haven't really touched on is like if you have Life Bloom on somebody, I believe there's a talent where F-Flow just is buffed and it makes it follows that person around, so that could actually be really good for Mythic Plus since there's always a lot of movement involved. I mean, maybe even this is good for Raid too, but a lot of the times in Raid you're kind of standing still in most spots, so I'm not sure how that it's called life treading, this talent. We'll see how that
I think it will
interacts,
actually
but
be good in raid because F-Look actually costs a lot of mana. Right?
yeah.
And on bosses like Nexus King or Dimensius, like recent examples, on Galvix as well, you're moving so much, and replacing F-Low costs quite a bit of mana. If you can
Yep.
cut it off, you can avoid Spectre Master Shapeshifter, and that's 2 useless talents gone because they changed the pattern. The pattern is now through another useless talent, so that might be the play just because you save mana and can use other talents.
Yeah, the thing that I'm like more interested for Mythic Plus kind of is like so with the whole double life bloom gameplay, typically the way that like I've gone about my healing, and I even touched on it in the video that we had couple,
Yeah.
like last week, Jack, is that with your 2 life blooms, I typically always put these on the 2 people who I feel are in danger the most, like, and are dying in M plus, like from any mechanic that will need more healing, right? So then I swift mend the other person, like my non-life boom target will usually be my swift mend. So, but without another life bloom involved, it's going to be definitely interesting to see how your dungeon healing is going to be. In my opinion, this Apex talent is going to kind of just be like one person gets a insane amount of healing on them if they have life bloom, and then it's all going to kind of depend on how like this everbloom talent, like the splash of the healing is going to work. Same with like nature's bounty, that like those two together is going to probably be doing a lot of your like work for healing people in Mythic Plus. I could see those working together, but yeah, I mean it's hard to really say without testing it. But it's definitely a big difference because it's going to change a lot on how you determine who you're life blooming, in my opinion. Like with the single life bloom, like does it go on you? Does it go on the squishy person? Like, I mean, all of this is going to kind of depend on how you progress through the dungeon. So we'll see how that kind of plans out. I don't think a lot of the stuff with the changes for Druid are super like gameplay focused on like it's going to be like such a massive drastic change that you need to rethink about how you heal. I think it's all going to be similar to how the game is right now. Yeah, I just the correlation to some of these talents and how they work together will be the interesting part to see, like if they mesh or not.
All right. I know we got a little bit of time before Torty has to go to raid. So, give me overall impression, positive or negative, for these changes, and what would you like to have changed for Resto Druid between now and Midnight's launch? Go for it, Torty.
Definitely Apex Stones. I would love them to change to Wild Growth. I think Wild Growth is a bit without many interactions right now, and I can easily see it like just not being used outside of like proccing trends. Not a fan when they attach bonuses to single targets and large bonuses like that, like single target spells.
Yeah, I think there's what a 40% buff onto wild growth, but right underneath there's a 70% buff to regrowth and a ton of different talents that work with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. But overall, would you say, Torty, you're positive about the changes, negative about them?
Somewhat neutral. Like it's like
Okay.
small shakeup, so it's not completely the same. Like, always a welcome thing when they change something. Like I don't want to play completely the same thing for 4 years. But, I don't think it's the changes are big to have like a completely negative or completely positive.
Sounds good. All right. So some more wild growth action. What do you think you would like to see, Greg? And what are your overall impressions, positive, negative, or neutral?
I would say I would agree with Torty. I would like to see the Apex talents change around Life Bloom. Like I don't think them being on a single target spell too is also very good. Like having more single target healing in M plus can be good in some situations, but like healing a hard AoE boss like with this talent, like that's what I'm like kind of goes to my mind. Like how's this gonna work with that? I would say a lot of the stuff, it seems like Blizzard's trying to reduce the button bloat with Druid, like Grove Guardians now just, being attached to your Swiftmend and your Wild Growth. Like I think that's a great change. Like you don't even have to worry about the ability to begin with anymore. Like it's just a button that you just kind of meaninglessly pressed on retail for raid and keys, and now it's just like a passive. So that's like a great change. So I don't know. Anything to reduce button bloat on Druid is always good in my opinion, because it makes it a lot easier for the new person to kind of pick it up. And one thing that I would say that I would like to see coming into Midnight with Druid is, we also haven't touched on it either, is Nature's Vigil like being removed. I would say I'm definitely a little upset about that, because I think that's what makes like Druid do an easier part of doing damage in raid at least. And now that that talent is like removed and gone, like it's gonna be interesting to see like if they even want healers to do damage in raid. Do they care about healers doing damage? Like who knows? Like that talent is like kind of like the talent that makes you do at least some meaningful amount of damage. Plus, obviously pairing it with Master Shapeshifter to get mana back. But yeah, who knows? We'll see. I'm excited to try it out, and I do think the start of an expansion is always the worst for a druid because you're scaled back and you rely on a lot of haste and having a lot of like quick decisions. But it seems like the game is getting kind of slowed down, so that may be good or bad for Resto Druid. Who knows? I could see it not being the greatest, but only time will tell.
Fair enough. Yeah, and next time that we get some experience and some time that you guys get to play in alpha and beta and everything like that, love to have you guys back on. Any other final thoughts, Torty?
Not really. I mean, I'll go in through questions in chat.
Yeah, did any of them kind of stand out to you? A couple of them were like, do you think you're gonna run like abundance going forward, and like some of the things that I was kind of curious if like
Yeah,
it's too early to tell.
yeah, I think it's too early to tell, and like a lot of these questions heavily depend on tuning. Like Cat Weaving, for example, they can buff Starfire by 30%, nerf Reap and Drake by 20%, and then you're just spellcasting. Or they can do the opposite, and you will never cast a single caster spell. Like that's just a Blizzard decision, not a talent or anything else. What else is there? Like sell you on Resto Druid if you like high APM ADHD killer, then Resto Druid is your choice.
What do you think, Greg? What would you sell to people on Resto Druid?
I don't know. The fun part about Druid is just like it's like a min-max healer, in my opinion. I feel like you're rewarded for how well you know the class and how well you know damage patterns. So that's kind of how I see the class. So if you're really good at, min-maxing your globals, thinking ahead of like what you need to do on certain dungeons, certain mechanics, I mean even certain boss fights and raid, like you're definitely rewarded for your gameplay by, ramping properly and just being prepared and set up. So that's what a druid does. Like, I mean, you can fall drastically behind in dungeons and even in raid if you're not prepped for certain mechanics that are about to happen. It's just the way a hot healer kind of works. So that's why, I like the gameplay being focused largely around the hots, and hopefully maybe there's some decisions with more changes to rejuve, like maybe even the Apex talent could be focused on rejuve. That would be kind of nice because rejuve kind of feels like left out in my opinion. A lot of stuff is on Swiftmend, Soul of the Forests, like regrowth, wild growth, but nothing really on rejuve. So
Yeah. All right. So last one, Torty. A little bit of a general healer question. What do you think about the defensive revamps and at least some of the simplification for Resto Druid at the moment? Do you think it's like heading in the right direction or wrong direction or anything like that?
I'm actually a bit worried about the new raid frames. They said that raid frames are gonna remain, but we don't know how much of the raid frame functionality will stay. And like as you know, all of us like long-term healers have like pretty sophisticated raid frames right now. Like I want to be able to ignore debuffs. I want to be able to highlight some debuffs. I want to like put hots in different spots. Also, max 5 hots is not a thing. I don't know who wrote that note. they were wrong. I mean, first of all, we have more than 5 HOTS on alpha, and mastery goes past 5 as well. They just like that note is just incorrect factually. Maybe they will apply some of that, but I don't know how it will even work. Like, what your 5th HOT is just not apply when you cast it? Sounds stupid. And, every expansion, they're saying that the healing will get less bursty. Like, literally, since Wrath of the Lich King, they were saying in Wrath of the Lich King, in Cataclysm, in Mob, in WoD, in Legion, in BFA, Shadowlands, Dragonflight, The War Within, and now Midnight. Healing will get less bursty. I will believe it when I see it.
That's fair. I'm with you 100%. All right. Well, thank you so much. I know you got to get to raid and everything, but I really appreciate you guys coming on, giving me some of your initial thoughts. This has been Torty from the Dream Grove Discord, as well as Seraphine from top of the leaderboards on Raider.io. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate the time. Thanks for setting this up, Jack.
Absolutely.
Hope you have a good stream. Take care.
Thanks, bro.
So.